What's up, creators? Welcome back to the Creators Series. I'm going to be sharing with you 5 in-camera settings that you need to change if you're using the Sony ZV-E10, especially for video. I'm downtown here in beautiful Spokane, Washington with my buddy Doc Rock, and we're down here doing an event with Ray Edwards, and it has been a fantastic experience. And of course, my go-to camera for my specific B-roll shots and BTS is going to be the Sony ZV-E10, but I couldn't do that unless I changed these 5 settings just to make everything that much easier. The first one is going to be setting your audio levels to that C1 custom dial. Now, I know this is automatically programmed in the camera as your defocus or the background defocus, and that's great. However, at some point you do want to start switching from an all auto type settings to something that is more manual, and you do want to gradually start to increase that. I think switching out the C1 button so that you can start to customize your camera for your use is going to be one of the greatest use cases. So change that to an audio level. One of the main things you're always going to be watching for is a video. There are several times where I'm getting ready to record something and I'll notice, because I'm in a new environment, the audio levels have changed. So right now I'm across from a busy street. We're down here at the courthouse in this beautiful area, just honestly making some content, and I need to check the audio levels. We got the wind blowing, even though we have the dead cat on the camera and all of that, but still have to check the audio levels just to make sure I'm sounding good and the audio levels are strong enough instead of being too low enough and it's kind of contending with the audio levels. So you're always going to need to change your audio levels, so that should be the first thing that you change. The second thing to change is the zoom rocker. Now, you can use this a couple different ways, but I love to set this to clear image zoom. Now, some people will do like the optical plus clear image zoom or whatever that setting is. I do not suggest using that one because you start to deteriorate the image more. Instead of with clear image zoom, you're cropping in on, or zooming in rather, on the center. And that is going to give you a much richer picture and quality when you're zooming in versus with just using like the optical. It's kind of like if you think about pinching to zoom on your phone. Before we had the extra lenses, kind of sounds old now, but when you would zoom in, at some point you're going into that digital space and it'd be really weird looking. So that's one thing that you don't want to do, especially when you're investing into a camera that is a dedicated device instead of just like your phone. Go ahead and go to clear image zoom. In the zoom rocker setting, if you have it set there, you get some nice zooms in if you're recording, or if you just kind of want to set up the shot kind of like this and you need to use clear image zoom. So the third setting that you'll want to change on your ZV-E10 is changing that trash can icon on the back of your camera so that it is going to go to product showcase mode. Now, this is automatically for the most part set as a default, but when you have it set, you can bring stuff up like your phone and then that'll be in focus. Now, depending on how deep of a depth of field that you have, so right now you can see from here all the way back. It'll be different if I put on my Sigma 16 lens and put that in an f1.4, then at that point it would be a little bit blurry. But if I drop this down to an f4 and then I hold up my phone, then you can kind of see that that's in focus versus not, and you don't have to block the eye. So regardless as to what aperture that you're using or whatever the case is, setting the trash can icon to the background defocus mode is going to be best. I know he ain't honked that horn while I'm trying to record. So the fourth setting that you want to change on your Sony ZV-E10 is changing the downward arrow, or on your directional dial on the back of the camera. It's going to be your downward facing button, to the AEL, or the auto exposure lock. Now what that will do is, like, as you're walking to different scenarios, like right now, especially I'm outside, yes, I have an ND filter on the camera and things, but I'm kind of lightly changing settings. One setting that I like to leave in automatic is ISO. In an environment like this, as you're going from outdoors to indoors, I just don't want to have to stop and make those changes. But once the camera finds a good exposure mode, what I'm going to do is press that downward facing button or that downward directional button and go ahead and lock the exposure so that it's set at that point, so I don't have to worry about it changing on me. So if I hold up something to the phone really close or whatever the case is, it won't change on me with the exposure locked, instead of it constantly fluctuating or going from bright to dark. And you can even do some really cool shots, especially like when I was walking into my hotel room and you want to get that entrance shot after you're done traveling. Well, I have to set the camera up first. I don't know if you know the secret, but you got to set the camera up first. But one thing I'm going to do is lock the exposure at what it should be instead of just letting it constantly fluctuate. Otherwise, it wouldn't look the same. So make sure you lock your exposure and use that AEL to your benefit. Most new creators don't even use this setting, so take advantage of it. So tip number 5 is you want to make sure when you're going into the My Menu that you have it set to on, so when you always go into the menu, that will go directly to the My Menu instead of wherever it is that you left off in the main Sony menus. A lot of creators exclaim how oh, the Sony menus are so hard, and honestly, they're set up the exact same way as the Canon ones. It's just that on some of the pages there are more to it because it's more to the camera. First one's photos, second one is for video, next one is going to be for play and replay. The next one after that is going to be for your network, and then you have the suitcase or toolkit, and then you have your My Menu. They're literally set up the exact same way. Because of this, regardless if I was on my M50 or now and I'm on my ZV-E10, then I want to make sure that I'm going straight to the My Menu. So I only go to those settings that I use most often. And then if I do need to get something in the regular menu, of course, that's always available. But it's so much easier to just go straight to your menu instead of going through the entire Sony menu. If they honk one more horn. So hopefully these 5 settings are something that you are not utilizing and you can start implementing to start creating better videos, and so that you become more effective. These 5 settings literally is no joke. I use these all the time, and just finding out these little tips here and there make content creation that much easier. Let me know what is something that is your go-to setting in your camera, regardless of what brand that you use, down in the comments. But with that, guys, with passion, I'll see you on the next episode here on the channel. Peace.